Hi everybody, today what we're going to do is we're going to take you on a tour for some new construction. Specifically, we're standing at a Lennar home at the subdivision of Hickory Bluffs, and I'm here with one of my inspectors who has done a ton of properties in this area. He really knows what Lennar builds and what some of the pitfalls are, and really how to guide buyers to making sure that their investment in a brand new piece of construction, regardless of its warranty, is right when they get in the property. So we're going to take you inside this and go through a tour, and I'm going to introduce you to John. Hi everybody, and welcome to Lennar's, one of their properties. This is known as the Brunswick. It is a really cool layout with a nice open concept plan, and today I have a special guest with me. This is the owner of Addie's Inspections. I call him John B. He's our guy, and he is not only an inspector that Keller Williams and my company has worked with a bunch before, but he has actually done a ton of properties for Lennar, so he knows the builder. So say hi, John.
Hey everybody, it's good to be here today with you, Jason.
Awesome, I really appreciate it. He's actually the one who set this opportunity up because he's done so many inspections for Lennar that they were gracious enough to let us come in and take a look at these properties. One of the things that I get from people a lot, John, is that they want to buy. Everybody wants the deal, right? Everybody wants the deal, and I understand that. So when we talk about resale versus new construction, deal is a relative word, right?
Right.
It doesn't always mean that, and the reality is new construction is a right fit for a lot of people. So when they come into it and they realize they're going to pay a little bit more of a dollar per square foot, but the assumption is they're getting this perfect product, and that's not always the case.
Right.
So in your storied career, how many new construction properties estimate you think that you've had to inspect?
Oh, we've inspected probably 3,000 or 4,000 now in North Georgia.
Wow.
So we have a really good feel for what's going on the new construction side. When you go to talking about a deal, you're really trading. When you buy a new construction house, you're not having to worry about the maintenance for the short term, right?
Right.
You have that 1-year warranty usually. Usually
it's
the builder.
Lot of peace of mind.
Yeah. And so for folks that are like, hey, I don't want a big honey-do list on this house, it can be a great fit, and it's worth paying a little bit extra per square foot to not have to worry about the upkeep in the short term. So that's where the deal comes in.
Agreed.
So when you talk about just the quality of the build here, we've done probably, I told you, I think over 100 houses now in this development.
Okay.
So we're very familiar with the builders here, and we've had just a great working relationship with them. There is no perfect house. You said, hey, even on a brand new one, there's going to be a few things on a list. The question is, can we get it addressed and get it fixed before you move in? And Lennar has been great working with us, getting those items corrected and making sure that everything's good to go for the buyer.
And see, this is actually what I would call third-party validation for what I always tell our clients all the time. If you've worked with me in the past, if you've bought new construction, I always tell people that what you pay for At Ease to be able to do an inspection for you is really inexpensive insurance, right? It's the ability to go in, because sometimes, no fault to the builder, it's not to demonize a builder, but something could happen to a particular house that didn't happen to any of the other ones on the street that John is able to catch, or his guys are able to catch, and then we're able to address an issue that could turn into something big. Like I have seen issues sometimes where rain got in before sheetrock and we ended up with a mold issue, something that could be major that might reflect on, and it was not Lennar homes that this happened on, but it could reflect on the builder, but it really isn't the builder's fault. It was a isolated instance, and the point is that you really want somebody with an expert set of eyes for a very affordable price to come in and go through the house, so that when you get into it, you're relying on the warranty for the warranty, not for things that shouldn't have been missed in the first place. And one of the things that you've really encouraged me on is that Lennar as a builder is top tier in the fact that they're not only going to allow that to happen, because we actually have to get their permission to even hire you to bring
Correct.
you in, and I'm sure you have to carry certain insurances.
They've got many of the builders here in Atlanta, especially the bigger tract builders, have become very strict on who they allow on site. And so you have to have an inspector with particular insurance levels, particular certifications, and they're going to want to see also that you've been part of a trade organization for so many years. So there are significant requirements there, and that's because they want experienced inspectors looking at the houses, not someone who's brand new and writing up a bunch of things that really shouldn't be mentioned. So.
And that's really the point there. I have found massive value always in hiring a quality inspector like John, his company, I highly recommend them. They will come through and make sure that this peace of mind, you're buying a new construction to have that peace of mind investment, so that you know when you're getting into it, A, it's done right, and B, that when you rely on the warranty, it's for things that haven't yet gone wrong that the warranty will take care of, not things that went wrong that nobody knows about that hopefully you find later. And that right there is what I call the perfect win when you're dealing with new construction. Okay, so that being said, John and I are going to do a walkthrough of this property for you guys so you can see what Lennar's offering. Let's get to it. All right, everybody, so we're here at Lennar Homes looking at the Brunswick model. This is a 3-bedroom house that is approximately 2,000 square feet, specifically this model 2,084 square feet. And you come into a nice long hallway, and the first thing that I'd like to point out is going to be that they're using the LVP floors. So you've got that grayish brown tan LVP luxury vinyl planking that is throughout this house, giving it a nice clean feel to it. And as soon as you come down the hall, first thing on the left that you're going to run into is going to be the shared bathroom and 2 of the bedrooms. Let's take a look. One of the things I'd like to say about the shared bathroom is the size of it. This one is wider than what I normally see in these type of tract homes. You've got a lot more space with the door. It does seem to be a 36-inch door, so arguably this could be handicap accessible the way that this is built. Now, it might be different with the height of this, but you're also going to notice they use the same tile on the floor and the walls, giving you that marble look with a tub shower combo here, as well as the single sink. And as you go to either side, we're going to have bedrooms. We'll check this one out. All right, so this particular room, I would say, is probably a 16 by 14, a decent sized extra guest room. You obviously, with 2 of them here, you could have, this could be for family members, for the kids, however you want it to be, or one of them could be an office while one remains a guest room. They're sized right. I'm standing next to a queen bed, and there's, plenty of room on either side to be able to have a decent sized nightstand. And so this is kind of your entry into the guest area of this before we go down the hall to what I would say is the crown jewel of this thing, which is going to be the kitchen area. Let's take a look at that. So as we come through here, what you're going to see is on your left is going to be what I would consider a formal dining room, which we'll come back to. But this is really the crown jewel of the space. When you get up here, you're in this open concept plan where you've got living room if you're going to mount the TV above the fireplace with this backdrop of a gorgeous kitchen here. So we're going to go with what I believe is to be a quartz countertop. Would you say that that's accurate, John? All right, so a quartz countertop. Then you've got the shaker style cabinetry with you can get the option of slow close on those. You've got gas appliances. And do they call this a herringbone? Is that the way that is? Yeah, so a herringbone tile backsplash, which is kind of cool, adds a little bit of dynamic to it. And as you stand in here at this island, you can look across to the area where everybody's going to hang out. But that doesn't mean they have to eat over there, because you do have the eat-in kitchen. So you've got the separate dining area and eat-in kitchen. This particular model hosts a really nice size pantry where you can store a lot of food, and it's really a cook's dream if you're going to have the microwave oven built in above here. Well, you have the convection style oven that is below, so that frees this space up right here to not have the traditional microwave above. And one of the reasons that I don't like the microwave above is simply because most of the time they end up not being ducted and they end up being recirculating. So do you notice that on the ones that you're inspecting here, that they have more of a ducted type of experience over the stove?
Yeah, usually they're going to take these range vents and they're going to vent them to the exterior, which is really what you want. If you have a recirculating range vent, whether it's on the bottom of a microwave or it's a hood like this, you're blowing the hot air right back into the kitchen, right? And so that can make it difficult to keep the kitchen cool during the summer when you're cooking. And also, you really want to get the grease outside too. So.
And that's, for me, that's really probably the big deal, is usually if you have a cabinet above here on those microwave ones, you get a grease spot up there, because these grease traps only do so much. Your dishwasher is going to be built into the island here, and then this is going to leave you to an area back over here where you've got a wonderful open porch where you can actually hang out when the weather's nice. This particular one is fully screened in that butts up to the backyard where they actually have another eating area to be. So over here, what we're dealing with is going to be the master suite. Now, obviously, this is probably, arguably, depending who you're talking to, a more important space than the kitchen. Not for me, but still. Let's take a look and see how this master checks out. So this master suite is not only open and wide. One of the things I find that frustrating on certain models of houses is the master suite is so big that it's literally a waste of space. I'm not going to play football in the master bedroom, right? So this one, having this wonderful fluffy king bed with two really big nightstands on either side and the dressers, still has room for a sitting room in it, but it's not too big. This feels the right size to me. And then they have a second entry right to that porch area where we were looking at that table earlier, where that could be your morning coffee. Like, you literally go out there and sit and have coffee when the weather allows for it to be. If you wanted to, I'm sure you could pay extra and glass in that instead of screening it, and then that could be conditioned space, which is an additional. And then this opens up to the double doors over here, which is going to take us into the master bath. Now, the master bath, everybody agrees, is a crucial part. So features here that I can say, aside from the gray and white and the way that they've laid this whole thing out, is going to be that I think this is designed, again, for handicap use, and if it's not, it's just really convenient. It's a stepless shower. This is literally level with the ground. As you go into here with the seamless door that can open either direction, has a wonderful seat inside of it, and there is no step there. So I assume the slope on these are going to be good enough where you don't experience water coming out, right?
Right. We check every one of them with the laser level when we're doing our inspection. In this neighborhood, they've been doing a great job with them, but that is something to always be checking on new construction. We recently had a multi-million-dollar house we did with 6 showers, all of which the tile in the shower sloped away from the drain. Major problem. They had to tear all 6 showers out and redo them on a brand new house. So definitely something to check on new construction.
And that's the reason you want to hire an inspector. All right, so up here what we get is a wonderful loft area. Now, normally I hate lofts because they're usually small and completely useless, but this is really a second living space. So whether you want the space for, to watch TV in kind of a theater setting, or if this is a separate location for someone else in your family to have their own private space, this is a great addition on this particular model. Up in this area, we also have a single extra bedroom as well as a full bath up here. Let's take a brief look at those before we head outside. So over to this side, you're going to see that the bathroom is very similar to what you'll see downstairs. They're keeping the same tile moving through here, and you'll find a much smaller bedroom that they've kind of decorated in this particular model for children. And you can take a look, and they have the little double bed set up in here, and that completes what I would call a 4-bedroom layout. Even though this one's advertised as a 3, they're probably considering one of those rooms down there as an office, being able to do this. So having a closet added probably isn't that expensive, and really this is a lot of space. It's very well laid out for being just less than 2,100 square feet. I really feel like Lennar has kind of mastered the flow, if you will, to really make it usable space rather than having tracts of space that you can't really use. Okay, so one of the things that we look at for the buyers, they're always looking at how comfy it is, how the flow is, and this kind of stuff. I know that is probably the last thing you're looking at. One of the big things you have always told me that you like to look at is what is behind that door. So tell us a little bit about it.
That's right, Jason. So this is the door to the attic. You open it up, and I don't know if you can see in there, but we have our roof trusses, and there's insulation and all that fun stuff. The average buyer doesn't really care about that. All they really care is a room to store my Christmas decorations in there.
Yes.
Apart from that, they're like, let's keep that door closed. We're not going in there. But for an inspector, this is where we're probably most interested. One of the most common things we find on new construction is you have a roof truss that's broken, and it was broken during the installation process. These trusses come from a factory. They're pre-manufactured. They're lifting them in with a crane as they're getting ready to put the roof on, and it's very common for one to get broken, and that is a structural issue. It's not hard to fix it once you know about it, but it's something you definitely want caught before you close on a new home.
Absolutely, because that's not something that in your warranty check you're going to be like, well, my roof, and then 5 years later down the road, something that should have been corrected is now no longer under warranty, then you're having to deal with it, and that's something that you get the extra value out of that. So that's common, huh? The broken trusses.
Probably about, I would say, 60 to 70% of all new builds have a broken truss somewhere.
Oh my goodness.
So very, very common. But it's one of those things that you do need an engineer involved to repair. But the builder usually has a process for that. They're used to dealing with it. And if you get it fixed before you close, it's usually not that big of a hurdle.
And there you have it. And this is how spending a little bit of money with a reputable inspector will save you thousands of dollars in the long run and give you peace of mind that the product that you bought brand new is actually brand new. All right, let's check out outside, and we'll talk about some of the construction materials, the other things that I look at as an agent and that I rely on my inspectors to make sure is done right. So everybody's distracted by the beauty of the kitchen, and this is one of those areas where you guys have a pretty long checklist where you look at stuff. So tell me some of the common problems you guys find and what you're looking for when you're in this space.
Sure. Well, there's actually a lot of code requirements that are very specific to kitchens.
Okay.
And so these are technical items that sometimes can get overlooked during the building process. Some of those items might be things like the spacing of your outlets above a countertop.
Okay.
So we can't have more than 24 inches between outlets above your countertops.
Really?
So, yep, so that's one of them. Another would be if you have an island like this, you have to have an outlet on your island. That is required by code. So some of the appliances require dedicated circuits. So you have to have a dedicated breaker in your breaker box going just to that appliance.
So like, for example, a refrigerator.
Correct. So, yes. Another thing would be with the plumbing, you're required to have a special device called a water hammer arrestor, without getting too technical here. It's but on your refrigerator and your dishwasher, if you look underneath this sink or behind that fridge, you'll see it there hopefully. And it's a part of the code requirement for any appliance that turns the water off quickly. And it keeps your pipes from rattling around inside the wall, and it's a code requirement.
So that's that noise, right?
Correct.
Here, when you shut on, you hear the rattle. Is the water pressure, as it's moving, coming to a stop and everything kind of rippling back?
Correct.
Okay.
And so we've now implemented a code to prevent that from happening.
Oh my goodness.
So
I noticed that I don't notice it anymore on newer stuff, but I didn't know why.
that's right. So these are more technical items that generally only a code certified inspector is going to be looking for. But this is where you get a lot of your value. It's beyond just the cosmetic items, which we all enjoy those and we love the look of it. This model obviously is beautiful. But when we come in as inspectors, we're looking for very technical items and seeing if we're up to code.
That's very cool. So we're on the exterior of the property right now. What I want to do is point out some of the different materials that were used in the construction of this house and ask John how they go ahead and look at these things, like what should buyers be looking for in terms of quality control and those type of things. So a handful of the materials that we're going to see here is that they have a lower brick veneer, and I have a feeling that you're going to talk to us about some of those weeping holes as well as this flashing in here. And then they use more of a stacked stone up through the side of this. Now you probably won't find any houses that are completely done like this, but this one is mostly across the front here, that's at least under the porch, before we go to the siding, which is most likely going to be a hardy plank, is going to be my guess, or at least some kind of concrete board that, you know, pretends to be wood, going from there. But when we're looking at this, tell me what you're looking for. Like, should I be concerned about this?
Yeah, so if you zoom in right there on one of these stones, you'll see that it looks like it's cracked, or maybe two pieces were put together there. Other than any aesthetic concern, there is no concern from a structural or a performance standpoint with that.
See, and that's important to know, because you obviously have gaps, because stone naturally is that way, and somebody might be concerned that it's a structural load, but this is literally just a cosmetic front.
Correct. You do have wood studs holding up your wall. The brick or the stone itself is not structural at all. It's just a covering on the wall, is all it is. Now, with any covering, the number one thing we're concerned about is water drainage. If water were to get back behind the stone or the brick, how is it going to get out? We don't want to sit inside the wall. And so if you look down here, you can see, if we zoom in, there's these little holes with little tubes sticking out of the bottom of the brick, and those are called weep holes. They're required by code every 33 inches on center, wherever you have brick. And it's got to be there to let water come out if the water gets behind the brick. Additionally, Jason had mentioned earlier the flashing here. Whenever you're transitioning from one type of siding to another type of siding, along that horizontal transition, you're required to have flashing at that juncture. And that helps to make sure that any water draining down this stone comes out. It doesn't go down behind the brick, it comes out before it keeps going down the wall. So another code requirement that we're looking for as well when we do these inspections.
Okay, awesome. So next we're going to take a look at is the siding. So we're standing between the model and one of the first houses that they've built over here. And the reason we're doing that is the entire front of this house is a full brick front, which is probably a wonderful upgrade. As you look around at some of the other houses, you're going to see a lot more siding on the front of the houses and whatnot. So this is the type of siding I was talking about. It appears to be wood. It's traditionally called hardy plank, even though I think hardy plank is actually a brand name of a specific siding. So this may not actually be hardy plank, but they kind of coined the phrase. And what you really have there is a concrete piece of siding. So it's going to be impervious to termites, even though we have a stick-built house. The house isn't, but the siding is. It's also going to stand up to water better. But one of the things that I've seen change, and this is a debate all the time, is caulking the seams, right? Everybody says, I got people that say has to, people that say it doesn't have to. What is your take on these seams here, whether or not they need to be caulked? Because as you can clearly see on this new construction, there is no caulk.
Right. So where two boards join up together like that, the manufacturers give you two different options. And one is you could seal up that joint in between the two boards with some sealant, with some caulk. The other is you can run a piece of flashing. A lot of times I'll use a little strip of tar paper as the flashing, run it down behind where those two boards meet together, and it will shed any water that tries to get in between the two boards. Either one is acceptable according to code and according to the manufacturer's installation instructions. So you can do either one. What you can't do is leave an open gap with no sealant and no flashing behind the siding. That's a no-no. You'll let water in behind the siding that way, and that's not permitted.
Okay, so it clearly seems to me that as I'm looking down the street here, Lennar chooses to use some type of flashing as watershed because I don't see any caulk on any of these seams. And frankly, from an aesthetics, I think this looks better.
Oh, this is definitely the route to go. If you seal up that joint with caulk, it's not a code violation, but it does require regular maintenance. Every couple years, you have to come back and reseal that joint, and then you have a stripe on the house and you got to paint the house. So it's a lot of extra maintenance. If you just put the flashing behind the two, where the two boards meet, you're pretty much good for the life of the siding and you don't have any maintenance. So it's a great way to do it. We love the way Lennar's doing it out here.
Yeah. I love that. And the last thing that I'll point out that we'll be able to show you clips of is going to be the roof. We're not going to get up on there today, but what you see a lot of really, cookie cutter builders used to use was a 3-tab shingle. Here in the South, where the sun is brutal, what you really want is a 30-year architectural shingle. And the big difference you can always tell when you look is whether it's textured, like it looks bumpy as if you were to rub your hand across it, versus like lined up bricks that have a seam line that skips over every other one. And these properties, every one I can see, use an architectural shingle, which it just really kind of goes to the quality of overall of what you see with Lennar. So if you're interested in a Lennar home, you can contact us directly, and we can set up an appointment with their on-site sales agents to walk you through what their options are, what their timeframes are, and even some of the special financing that they have available. When you get this or any other property under construction, we can put you in touch with John so that you can get a proper inspection on whatever it is you choose to buy so that you know what you're getting is a quality product. So until next time, I just want to say thank you, and we'll see you soon. John, I appreciate you coming out.
It was great to be out here. Thank you.
All right, thanks.